Utah tent campers scampered a truck after close encounter with Sasquatch in camp. Linda writes RMSO, my 7-year-old granddaughter and I had an experience that I will never forget out camping deep in the woods of Utah. It started pouring rain, and we were at the bottom of the tent and we were getting soaking wet. I told my granddaughter that I was going to get her up and we were going to get into the truck. As we were almost to the truck, my granddaughter says, "Grandma, who's that man standing over there?" I immediately looked back over my shoulder and I could not believe what I was seeing. He was up against this huge tree, and he was almost as dark as the tree. Big, really big. I hurried and got her into the truck. I started strapping her into her seatbelt, and she says, "Why are you strapping me in?" I was strapping her in because I was afraid he was going to pull her out. I got the nerve up to look over my shoulder again, and he was gone. Then I got this fear that he was in the back of the truck. I looked, but he wasn't anywhere to be seen. He could have hurt us or killed us, but he didn't. I don't think they're vicious, and I don't think they want to harm us as long as we don't try to harm them. They have families just like we do. Recent Bigfoot encounter at Tony Grove, and motorists nearly hit giant road crossing Bigfoot in Cache County. 2 cars with 4 witnesses almost hit massive Cache County Sasquatch. I asked the following question on RMSO Media. Who else has spotted Bigfoot while they were in a vehicle? Sherry K. responds, Cache County, Utah, summer of 1977. Coming from Logan on Highway 30 heading toward Tremonton, rounding the bend at the mountain. I think it's considered Collinston area. Anyway, it's between Logan and Tremonton. It was around 6:30 to 7:30 p.m. A big sedan car with an elderly couple were in front of us. My friend and I were behind them, traveling about 45 miles per hour. As we rounded the turn at the base of the mountain, a large, white, enormous something walked across the road in front of us, hairy from top to bottom, extremely tall, long arms, whitish color, and took only 4 steps to get from one side of the road to the other. At the time, it was only a 2-lane highway. I still remember it walking across the road, swinging its arms strongly as it crossed the road, like it was on a mission to get somewhere. Not even giving us a second thought, as it crossed in front of us, the car in front slammed on its brakes to avoid hitting it. As did we. As the car in front slammed on its brakes, his back end slid on some gravel on the side of the road, causing dust from the impact. The creature dropped down over the embankment and was gone. The elderly man and my friend immediately jumped out of the car, and my friend told me, "Come on, let's go see it." I said, "Nope, I'm scared," shocked and thinking, what in the world did I see? I started locking all the doors. I sat in the car just watching them continue to talk and looking over the edge of the road, shaking their heads like, where did it go? Talking as they used hand motion to show each other what and how it crossed the road and dropped out of sight. Me not moving an inch, still staring at the embankment, trying to process the last few minutes of my life. At that bend in the road, it had an old, very large tree with lots of foliage. There were tall weeds at the area, and because there was an incline in the road, that's where there was a drop-off at the side of the road. They talked for a little while longer. When they both got back into each other's cars and we all drove off, it had vanished into who knows where. A day I will never forget. I would always drive over to Logan by myself thinking nothing of it, but after that, I never did again. I always took someone with me. Before this incident, while still in school, age 17 or 18, we would have sunrise devotional parties at a place called Early Park, just miles from where we seen the creature, Sasquatch. While there, I always felt uneasy, like someone was watching me. At different places where I remember like feeling the back of my hair on my neck standing up. It wasn't, but sure felt like it. But something was watching us. I remember as a young girl, like 6 or 7 years old, my dad took me once, close to the same area. He was talking to the man. The man had a donkey and they were both talking about stuff. And I remember the man looking at me saying, "Don't you wish you had big ears like this donkey?" and laughing. My dad and him continued to talk. I remember having the same feeling like something was watching us, and it wasn't the donkey. I remember getting closer to my dad, not moving away from him until he left. RMSO asks, Were you able to roughly estimate its height compared to the car that was in front of you? This is really interesting. The color of the creature is similar to the Bigfoot in Logan Canyon that crossed in front of the snowplow driver that was featured on an episode of Finding Bigfoot. Sherry continues. I can't really remember. I just know he was very tall, taller than a human, and I only know he took only 4 large steps to cross the road and he was gone. The road estimate, I would say, is about 14 feet for each way plus 3 to 4 feet on the sides. So you are looking at least it walking about 32 feet and only taking 4 steps. I do remember that. It was like, I describe it like lump, 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 and he was gone. His arms swinging very strongly, and his steps long strides. If I had to estimate his height, I would say 8 to 9 feet tall. We also get a response from Nina E. Nina writes, we were just camping in Tony Grove this past weekend. My daughter heard a really loud snort and grunt of something huge with massive lungs. She was in the tent at the time. A few years ago, I saw a silhouette, full moon, very bright, of a large, very large, 2-legged, upright something walk past our tent at Tony Grove. The next morning we saw footprints close to our tent. RMSO responds, there is a lot of Bigfoot activity reported and documented each year, including Bigfoot evidence. Here is an amazing Sasquatch track documented below Smith and Morehouse Reservoir near Oakley around the first part of 2024. Dustin Keyshaw writes RMSO. I have a picture you guys should check out. It's out of Oakley, Utah, taken last week. This is my buddy's work property, and he knows I'm totally into Bigfoot, and this is all he sent me. I'm trying to get out on the property and do some research. I know that there has been sighting in Oakley. The footprints do point in the direction of the river that is less than 100 yards roughly. RMSO responds, we drive through Oakley all the time. We have an off-grid dry cabin on the south side of the Uintas, and when Wolf Creek Pass opens up, we drive through Oakley and Hannah to get there and back. What is the pipe used for? Does your friend have any other photos or one without his boots in the track? Dustin continues, that picture he is standing next to a Connex box. He was tripping out and couldn't believe it. Came home and showed me because he knows I want to meet Bigfoot. I asked if he had any more photos, and unfortunately, that is it. RMSO asks, do you happen to know your friend's boot size? Dustin responds, his boot is a size 10. RMSO continues, his boot would be around 12.5 inches in length and roughly 4.5 inches wide or so. If his boot heel is lined up with that track heel, that puts the track 17 to 18 inches in length. Dustin adds, he said he is guessing it was like 20 inches long or longer. RMSO continues, he was there firsthand and comparing it to his boots, so have to go off his estimate then. 20 inches. In comparison to his boot, it appears at the widest spot is around 8 inches wide. The largest and longest Bigfoot track we have ever documented in the nearby Uinta Mountains were 19 inches long and 8 inches wide. So that is one of the biggest, if it's 20 inches for the area. It's more than likely the alpha male in the area would be my guess. It's huge. We have been up Smith and Morehouse near there, along with Thousand Peaks Ranch, following up on sighting reports in those 2 areas. Dustin continues, that's exactly the area at the mouth of the canyon. RMSO, I keep telling folks they don't hibernate. I get a lot of sighting reports, photos, and videos of the creature, including Bigfoot tracks, every winter, all winter. The toes on this are in good shape, and that's a rare find. I see that the body and hill have iced up, so it's not fresh, but because the toes are still there, it's probably within 24 hours old. Dustin comes back and says, I would say that is correct. I think he is out and about all year. That's when I've heard the yells and sounds like trees being hit or falling. I hope you guys enjoyed a couple of these sighting reports that were sent to us and Bigfoot evidence, all in the northern part of Utah. Some of these places, especially the Uintas and the Wasatch Front, are Bigfoot sighting hotspots. Keep on watching. We're going to keep on squatching.